What's up guys, back in Rhode Island, and we have our door track installed here. No glass in them, I'll get to that in a moment, but where I'm pulling them out of is actually going to be a pocket. We've talked about this a handful of times, but now you can kind of see the size of what this pocket will look like. So these doors will stack, and there'll actually be a wall that will be playing out with the rest of our wall and encapsulate these two door panels. So from here, right here, and over is where you'll actually have two door panels, a fixed piece of glass, a corner unit piece of glass, and then another door and a pocket on that side. Now, the door track gets installed in pieces. You see the head piece up there, you have the end piece, and it's mitered down on this end over here. And this is where our mitered glass will come together. Everything will come together. This will be a fixed piece of glass. We'll walk over to that unit. That's one of our corner units. You'll actually see how that mitered glass looks. And we've talked about how we'll protect that outside edge. But let's get to the reason that there's no glass in here today. We unfortunately had a small discrepancy in a measurement. So with the door manufacturers. The door manufacturers actually refabricating the door panels, and they'll be coming back in a couple weeks to install them. And I want to bring that to our attention because mistakes happen, and this is something that, you know, it's inevitable, and we want to make sure that we're working together as a team collaboratively to make sure that these mistakes are mitigated as much as possible. But when they do come up, how do we work through them together as quickly as possible and come up with a great solution? Another slight discrepancy that we ran into was here. If you guys remember in a previous episode, I believe this window is actually installed, and this is where I started talking about it, or maybe it was on my Instagram stories. This window's actually been removed. And the reason being is that the height was slightly different than the window over there. Why don't we go over there? I'll show you what's going on first. So this corner window over here is set so when we install our final detail for our soffit will actually land right at the top of our aluminum window. What you're seeing is basically a cavity. We're going to be using that cavity for a chase for electrical, but also for our downspouts. But our soffit will come over and die right into that aluminum. On that window over there, it actually was slightly different. It was just about, I think it was just about an inch different. And that was due to us setting the window height based on our countertop, which was the intended design for our countertop to die into the bottom of our window and then the head to be at that certain height. There was a discrepancy, again, with the window manufacturer and kind of what the design intent was. And one measurement took precedence while we were installing it, and ultimately it was incorrect. So we removed that window, we adjusted that pan over there. We'll be installing that window to make sure that as you work your way around with this soffit, everything dies into the top of that window exactly the way it's designed. So let's talk about this glass window. We'll go inside here. We've talked about this when Julia was on site and about window height. But now we have these two pieces of glass, and they are mitered, and they're meeting here. What you can actually see is they're not connected just yet. There's a small gap between there. So when this is fully set and ready to be completed, this will be actually glazed together. It'll get a glazing joint here, and then on the outside we'll actually install a small piece of black aluminum that will protect the outside corner. And really that's just to protect from anything ever hitting the outside piece of that glass, that it doesn't shatter the rest of the glass. This is triple pane glass, very expensive to replace, so we want to prevent that. But if you stand right here, you really do get an unbroken sight line, even though you do have the spacer bars in the glass, the spacer bars being what separates each pane of glass and also holds the gas in between the panes. But, you know, with that being said, it's much smaller than if this was a window frame in both directions, because then you would have essentially a piece of aluminum going in both directions, and you would lose, you know, really 6 inches square in that corner. So that mitered glass looks really, really nice. And like I said, it's going to look awesome when it's all glazed together. Now let's talk about critical path and what our next steps are. We have Eric from Design and Garage Doors coming on site. He's got the garage door going to be installed this week. And we're also working on all of our rake trim. I talk about the pocket out on that patio door and how we're going to have it built and then sided. Well, that's going to be a critical path for us. So we want to get this house sided. That's what we're working towards right now. Julia's been doing a great job. She's gotten all our rake boards and our fascia boards all stained. If you guys seen the rendering, it was originally going to be a natural white cedar shingle. We've changed that to a gray. So all of our rakes and trim is all gray as well. We'll have our fascia detail. You can actually see a mock-up right here. Chris from CJC actually mocked this up. And what we're looking at here is, you can see on the bottom, 3/4 inch tongue and groove, and then we have a 1x fascia stacked with another 1x on top of that. And behind that first, that top piece is actually our gutter, and our gutter is made by Duragutta, and it's an extruded aluminum profile, and actually can sit perfectly level. It doesn't need to be pitched like a traditional bent aluminum gutter. And all of our downspouts are actually going to be coming straight out of our soffit below. So we'll be actually coring through and coming straight down. You can see we'll be tying into something like this here that goes into our drainage below. But critical path for us is to get all of our rakes up, get all of our fascia on. This is when you start to see the overhangs. A lot of you guys have asked, why are there no overhangs on the house? And it's really based on the way the envelope has been designed. And once we get the gutter installed across here, we'll actually have a small overhang. You can see all the furring strips going up the roof line. That is so we can have our rake boards installed and then tuck in our cedar shingles below. But right now, before we do that, we're going to have to get our roof on. So we talked a lot about the Tesla roof, and it's really unfortunate to break this news, but unfortunately Tesla has just been unable to commit to us on getting this Tesla roof installed. And they went as far to say, just put a cheap, inexpensive asphalt roof on the house and we'll tear it off when these shingles become available again. Really frustrating. So we're looking at, doing an asphalt roof, but we don't want to do it in the sense of just being a throwaway material, because ultimately we don't know if Tesla will actually live up to, eventually getting here. And it might make more sense to shift and install more of a traditional panel system and doing those solar panels on the back of the house where they were designed to be installed anyway. So we're going to proceed with an asphalt roof, but we're going to proceed with not a throwaway roof, something that can last 30, 50 years if needed, and have the ability to put solar panels on top of it. So for critical path, it's getting all of our rakes and our fascia installed, getting our gutters installed, getting our roof installed, and then we're going to start shingling the house. And something, going back to what I said in the beginning, working through mistakes or working through issues that may impact other trades. It's really important for us to have a good relationship with our trade partners, but also make sure that we're communicating with our trade partners. So one thing that we're going to be dealing with here is, if we're not able to shingle this whole house because those door panels aren't installed, we need to communicate that with our sider, let them know that, hey, we're going to have the rest of the house ready, but there's about 5%, maybe 10% of the house that we can't shingle, and we want to be upfront about that. So we're going to wait for those door panels to come in, and when they're installed, we're able to build those pockets and finish our scope of work. So we were hoping to show you guys these doors fully operable and in place. Unfortunately, we're unable to do that. We were at least able to get the tracks installed, and by the next time we're on site, we'll be moving along with the roof and the siding and hopefully have those door panels installed. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.